Hey everyone, it's Gold Black Knight coming at you with some Battlefield 1 gameplay and commentary on Battlefield as a whole. So just for anyone who doesn't know, Battlefield is a game franchise that sits in the FPS genre. Made its debut in 2002 with Battlefield 1942. And that 1942 really set up Battlefield as we know it. That's where they introduced all of most of the iconic features that make Battlefield so good and made it so that it's still going on strong 15 years later. So 1942 came out. It was written by a person named Joan Persson, and it was published by EA and developed by DICE. DICE is a Swedish company, if there's anyone interested in that. And so that's really where a lot of it started. Let's take a look at the other first-person shooters at the time. You're talking about like Call of Duty and Medal of Honor, and those games are focused on campaign, and they do have a multiplayer, but really in 2002 the multiplayer was kind of limited, small maps, you know, nothing too crazy, 8v8. But what Battlefield did is they said, hey, why not have larger battles? These small maps are getting really repetitive. Let's make it big. So they created these huge maps that could support 64 players, which no one else could do. And they made it so it's a lot of fun. But part of that was that it needed to do things. In other games, you'd see like a car laying around, but the only person that could drive it was an NPC, because it was more work to code a vehicle that someone could drive than it was to code just an NPC. And someone's sniping at. Oh, there you are. Yeah, I don't. Oh God, this was a bad decision for me to come here. I'm gonna get the cover. Oh, and as you can see, they brought in vehicles. So now all the times where people wanted to play as vehicles, they can. So now you can pilot a plane, drive a tank, drive a car, and it makes the game a lot more thoughtful. I say that meaning that you could, in Call of Duty, you could pretty much just run and shoot people and not really care about where you are. But in here, you have to think about oh hey, I'm in a sniping bowl. I'm probably gonna die. And I'm gonna be stupid and try to shoot him with iron sights. But anyway, you have to think about your resources and how you use them. So it immediately, just by adding 64 people, it made itself more strategic. But then it kept going on from there. To manage the 64 people, they created the squad system, which is really based off of the real life military squad system. If you see my bottom left hand side of my screen, I have a group list of names, and I'm part of their team. So if they say go to D, I'm going to go to D and try to take that point, and that's very strategic. So 1942, they introduced a lot of things: big map, large server size, vehicles. Oh gosh, that tank is really holding me down. Vehicles and all sorts of other fun mechanics. Let's see if I can not die here. That'd be. Oh, he got me. So there you have the backbones for greatness. And a lot of people say oh, the campaign's not that great. Well, Battlefield's never been about the campaign. They throw the campaign in there to pretty much get you started, but then that's about it. So the next game in Battlefield's history is Battlefield Vietnam. So if you couldn't tell where that is, you should probably just stop watching. But that came out in 2004, and it was just very similar game, but in a new environment with new weapons and all that kind of stuff. But they introduced a new mechanic that would be like a backbone of the rest of their stuff, and that's asymmetrical warfare. Now, asymmetrical warfare is kind of what it sounds like.
Look out!
Not all teams start off with the same amount of resources and goods. Different groups have different amounts of funds and different weapons. So in the case of Vietnam, it was based around the Viet Cong not having as good of weapons as everyone else. And I am so sorry I'm doing so bad. I'm just gonna apologize right here and now, because it is abysmal. So it'd be, if you're the Viet Cong, you don't have a helicopter and tanks. You have the forest, and a couple guys with portable RPGs, but you make it work. And that was part of the fun of this game franchise, is that you actually have to really think about your team's resources and management. Oh god, I'm just having a grand old time here. So I'll go into another important part of the game. talk about the class system while I have a moment. I forgot to mention that this was installed in it. This was part of the first installment, that they have the classes. Now, usually it's 4, and they changed game to game, but they're made for assault, medic, support, and scout. And they allow you to not only customize each one, but to fill that role. Because when you have so many people, specialization is really important. The specialization of the tasks is just so important. Because if you have a guy with a submachine gun trying to snipe, you're not gonna have a good time. So they created that system, and and that wasn't the most mind-blowing thing, but it was definitely an important part of the gameplay. Oh hey. So, moving on, we're still in Vietnam, so asymmetrical warfare, and that made the game a lot more strategic and a lot more fun, because it made you think more, and games that make you think tend to be more fun, because it adds another layer of challenge. So after Vietnam came Battlefield 2, and Battlefield 2 really set up, I believe, their most successful series of games. Battlefield 2 was a fictitious war between the U.S., China, and Middle East, and the EU. And so it was fictitious, but they set it up in the most realistic way possible. And they created these battle scenes that, you could really imagine happening. And it really added this whole realism that they added to the game is just incredible, because it makes it more challenging and fun, Great quote, we don't do things because they're easy, we do them because they're hard. And I am just... You know what? I'm going to take solace in the fact that I'm one of the highest scorers at 0 and 4. Or I could not use this gameplay and use my older version with crappy audio. But I'm going to do this for the audio's sake. So, Battlefield 2 came out in 2005. And it introduced a really cool mechanic that they kind of dropped behind after, which is a bit disappointing. It was called the Commander mechanic. The Commander would be awarded it was a position that would be awarded to the highest ranked player in the lobby. So, like, if I could figure out... No, I'm just gonna have to hide behind this tree, apparently. So, you could see the whole map, and you could tell troops where to deploy and where to go. And it made it a lot more interesting. Yeah, that's what I thought. So it made it a lot more challenging to play, because it combined it with an RTS. You got to see all of this and tell people, hey, like, oh, we're losing a lot. We should support B and make sure that's covered. Because if we lose B, and it spawns me right next to a tank. Great times. Because, again, it's all about this game is more about tactics than it is about just killing people, and it makes for really fun, interesting gameplay. Oh, finally I get a kill. Okay. No, why do you need to, why are you shooting me? I don't need, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Okay. I'm gonna crawl to my new objective. But like, strategy is such an important part of this game, and by including the commander position, they really added to that. And then you get Battlefield Bad Company. Now, Bad Company was one of their more different titles, because it did focus a little bit more on the campaign. It still had the great multiplayer aspects that people love about Battlefield, but it also had a more fleshed out campaign. Which was definitely awesome, because you got the same feel of Battlefield, but you got to have the added. Oh boy, did he see me? Yep, he saw me. But you get to have the added thing of having a more fleshed out campaign. It didn't really offer any new mechanics to the game. It's like occasionally you get a new game mode with all of these, but I'm just focusing on the big ones. After Bad Company came Battlefield 3. Battlefield 3 was where I came in. That's where I'm most passionate about, and that came out in October of 2011. It followed the same war as 2 had, but built upon it, and it included some, included some new stuff that really showed how Battlefield was about the multiplayer. They made a web-based client, which doesn't sound great, but it was really designed entirely for playing multiplayer. That's all it is before. It did nothing else but set up multiplayer games, and it really set the tone of the game. They had a campaign, and it was really cool because it had great physics, and they included some new stuff in the environment, but such as the buildings falling apart more realistically when you shot them. But it added new content. Let's see if I can take you out. Nope, you're gonna hide. Hey there, friend. Ooh, I see you too, boy. Or I can miss repeatedly. I think that's the best option. There we go. Ah, he got me. So it's a continuation of the franchise. They added some new stuff, but nothing really game-changing. The biggest changes wouldn't come until the next title, Battlefield 4. And Battlefield 4 did a really cool thing with its environment. They focused on this new product called Levolution, they called it. Now, Levolution is level evolution. Pretty obvious to think of it. But, really, most games, when you play a map, the map is pretty stagnant throughout, You don't see too many changes, because that would it would be too much to handle. But what they did is they made multiple sets, or stages for the map, that would interact with users as they played. So the best example for me is called Shanghai Tower. And Shanghai Tower had a main unit that... the main unit was, there's this great thing in the middle of the map, which was a CQB kill room, pretty much. And if I could hit the broadside of a barn, that would be amazing. But this CQB area, after it took enough damage, would collapse, and it would change the map. So instead of having CQB, you now have this long expanse over a river that people would have to fight for, and it was less strategically ideal than the building, but it created these really fun situations which users had to think around, It's not just the same run in there and kill everybody, It now meant that... it now meant that you had to plan for multiple scenarios, and the changing environments make an amazing game. And Battlefield 4 came out in 2013, and it is still relevant 4 years later. I still know people that play it every day, and it's really a fun game. If you like LMG spam, you're gonna have a great time. So next we get to Hardline, which is really the black sheep of the whole franchise, because it got rid of its really, I think, one of its most important mechanics, being the squad system. Now this, I should be able to get you. Come on out. So the squad mechanic was removed in this one, and it focused on more of a cops and robbers style gameplay, which there's nothing wrong with, and it sounds like it would be a lot of fun, but it differed from the franchise so much so that no one wanted to play it. So 4 remained more relevant. And then we get to 1. And 1 is what I'm playing right now, and as you can tell, it's a beautiful game. I managed to get these kind of graphics while recording is something that I think is incredible, because this is a lot. Oh my god, if I could, thank you for the save. Oh, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Oh, but I'm not out of the woods yet. Where is that coming from? Battlefield 1 is great. It brings together I think, pretty well all the elements that make Battlefield 1 so great. You have the squad system, you have the huge maps, you have all of these different parts that make this game so interesting, and every time you play it, it's different, You never play the same game twice. And it's led to thousands of hours of gameplay. Oh. Come on out. I know you're there.
Halfway there, the enemy has the upper hand.
Aw, you got me. Yeah, so, there's all that. So, Battlefield's just one of those franchises that has done an amazing job of staying true to, its roots. You know, it is done so. It's one of the reasons it's one of my favorite games, is that it doesn't try to be. It is exactly what people want it to be, and it is a more strategic, well made game. You know, and yeah. So, thank you so much for listening to me ramble for the past 20 minutes, and hopefully this doesn't make you cry too hard. This gameplay. Peace out.